Well, I think we have the final word in the Ben and David MSC saga. Also, we've got 7 cruise ships in one cruise port in one day. And there's a cruiser out there completely unhinged with a request that I almost think this person should be banned if it's a true request. It does beg the question, is this real? Is this real or is this just made up? Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Little Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. For your face on a Thursday the 14th, 2024. It's Pi Day, math nerds in general. It's Pi Day, and I don't mean apple pie, I mean PI Pi Day. Yeah, we got a pile of it again today. We might as well start with some updates, and let me hit you with update number 1. I think we can finally close the book, at least for now. Close the book on the Ben and David MSC saga. A shout out to my friend Don Terrace. Saga. Yeah, MSC and Ben and David, they had a meeting, a coming to the table, as it were, yesterday, where MSC apologized profusely for the encounter that prompted all of this conversation. And they came to the table with an idea, and not a bad idea. They've invited Ben and David to collaborate with MSC to develop some guidelines on MSC for people taking photographs and video and doing the things that people do with their camera. Here's the message that they posted to their Facebook page. Also included in the details there is MSC is giving them a full refund for this cruise gone awry. And they mentioned at the end they're ready to move on and do other things. So I'm down with that. This is the end of that chapter. I am looking forward to the next chapter to see what kind of policies are developed for content creators on MSC through this collaboration. Fascinating stuff. But there you go. That's update number 1. Cruise news update number 2. We've been talking over the last few days about the violence that's happening in Haiti, particularly in Port-au-Prince, the capital city. And we've talked a little bit about what does that violence in Port-au-Prince mean for the port of Labadee, which is a few hours drive north of Port-au-Prince. Yesterday, we talked about how Royal Caribbean notified passengers that excursions outside of Labadee there in Haiti canceled. But today, well, the whole port is cancellated. We've got people on cruise ships right now being notified that their port stop in Labadee will not occur. And so, yeah, we've seen it this year, last year, previous years, that as strife happens in these areas, we've talked about the Red Sea, we've talked about Israel, we've talked about, St. Petersburg, Russia, Ukraine, where this turmoil is happening, cruising stops. And so at least for now, in the short term, cruising is stopping to that cruise port in Labadee. Not a surprise, big ups on the cruise line saying, well, the worst case scenario would be to still go somewhere and somebody get hurt. And so at least that option is taken off of the table. The Carnival Cruise Line also weighing in on the Haiti situation. They don't have a cruise port in Haiti, but they do have a cruise port in the Dominican Republic. So if you know the geography there, it's one big island. The western part, Haiti, the eastern part, the Dominican Republic. Very popular Carnival cruise port there, Amber Cove. Questions have been coming at Carnival. Will you be stopping cruises to Amber Cove? And Carnival reassuring their passengers that no, Amber Cove is still a go. There's a very heavily secured border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. They're quite a bit of distance away from where the violence is. And so at this point, no reason to stop cruising to Amber Cove. But I appreciate that clarification from Carnival. Cruise news update number 3. We talked vaguely yesterday about a cruise passenger that was found deceased in her cabin. Now more details have come to light. 2 cruise passengers, a man and a woman, traveling from Florida down to the Bahamas on Margaritaville at Sea Paradise. That cruise ship During that cruise, medical teams were alerted to a woman that was unresponsive in a cabin. They came in, they did CPR, they tried to revive the lady. Unfortunately, she was not revived, and an investigation was launched. The FBI was notified, and during that initial investigation, cocaine was found in the cabin, and the traveling companion of the deceased woman, was arrested. That's a little more details than we had yesterday, certainly, but that's about all the details we've had since yesterday. But at least now we know what the cruise ship is and a little more about the circumstance. I'll keep my eyes peeled for any updates on this story, but yeah, like we said yesterday, never seems to turn out good when drugs are involved. So now let's transition into today's story. Another story I didn't really tell you about yet that kind of is tweaking my brain. We have a cruise line out there reminding you to tip people, which is always a fun topic. I'll cover that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the cruise port that experienced a record-breaking day recently. 7 cruise ships in port on the same day, bringing over 20,000 passengers to Nassau in the Bahamas. This happened 2 days ago on the 12th, where the Carnival Paradise, the Disney Wish, the Independence of the Seas, the Sea Cloud Spirit, the Carnival Liberty, the Carnival Elation, and the Vision of the Seas all called on Nassau in the same day. Nassau, one of those staple ports for Caribbean cruising. Anybody that's cruised several times to the Caribbean, you probably stopped at Nassau. And wow, Nassau's had quite the evolution over the last few years. I remember the first time I went to Nassau, 2018 maybe. Very aggressive port area. But a lot of that has changed. I just recently went to Nassau and a whole different vibe. I'll tell you more about that later, but big ups and big kudos to Nassau for being able to host 7 cruise ships at once. That was probably a pretty crowded day in port. All right, let's get over to these 2 head-scratching stories. One about a cruise line reminding you that you should tip, and the other about a guest making a request so outrageous that it makes me wonder if it's even a real thing. But before I do that, let me quickly invite you to subscribe if you like staying up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of the episodes. A big shout out to all the newbies here. If you're new and you want me to say welcome, just type new. Or if you're old and you want me to say welcome, just type old. Today's the day. I'll do everything I can. If you put newbie or oldie in the comments, I will make sure I try to respond with something. Maybe I'll get creative. I don't know. But yeah, subscribe, notification bell on. Thank you in advance. I got a message from my friend Emma Latisse, one of those wish you were here messages. Look at this motley crew. DT, Emma, Sherry, Alana, JJ Cruz, Jordan and Jared. In addition to people we don't see like Doug Parker and Allison and Gordon, all checking out the Sun Princess today. Yeah, I wish I was there. Dumb thyroid. No, I'm very blessed that my surgery went as well as it did, and sure, it knocked me out of some adventures like this, but the FOMO was real. I don't have really fear of missing out. I got sadness that I'm not with my friends. I'm glad they're checking out the new cruise ship, but really the opportunity to hang with those guys is pretty spectacular. There'll be other opportunities, but man, I hope they're all having a great time. And yeah, okay, the FOMO's real. Look, I don't have FOMO stories. I got 2 more stories to share with you. Let's get back to the news. Okay, both of these stories are coming from Carnival Cruise Line. Both of them are coming from the social media account of Carnival brand ambassador John Heald. I can't tell whether or not John Heald likes us to talk about the stuff that he's talking about, but you know, he talks to 500,000 people about cruising, and there's some outrageous stuff over there. How can you not talk about it? So I don't know. I can't tell. At one point I thought John liked us over here, but then sometimes I don't think John likes the people that do social media. I don't know. You know, now I feel away. Like next time I see him, am I even going to like look at him? I don't know. But anyways, the material is very interesting. The first one is John was entertaining a conversation about room service, and he was just reminding people that Carnival no longer has the breakfast, door hanger where you mark it up, and that way they bring you breakfast, in the morning to your cabin, the free continental breakfast. Now you have to call a number the night before and say, say I would like some continental breakfast, and then they'll show up and bring it. But the part of that conversation was he just wanted to remind everybody that you should tip the room service people. And I think he's right. You should tip the room service people. I don't think they're getting any gratuity included, especially if you're getting something complimentary. Throw those folks a couple bucks. But at the same time, it's annoying. Just pay up. Just, pay the room service people good money. And, that way we don't have to, in addition to scramble to get the door. I don't know. Again, I'm talking about it, and I don't want you guys to take away that I tip people all the time, because that's the culture and that we live in, and I'm not going to penalize somebody for a wacky system. So I make sure that I do tip room service and all that other stuff. I just hate the system. But yeah, a reminder from Carnival: make sure you tip people. Thank you, Carnival. And then the other fantastical cruise nugget from the John Heald Facebook page is somebody who apparently wrote into him and said, look, I know that Carnival doesn't have tablecloths. I love myself some tablecloths, and this is my demand. I'm going to bring my own tablecloth, and I demand that you clean it every day and have my tablecloth ready for me so that I can use it in the main dining room. And if you don't, I will cancel my cruise. Look, I don't have any power, but if somebody wrote me a letter like that, I would ban them. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever. You don't like that there's no tablecloths on Carnival? You know what you should do? Cruise on Royal. Do you think that's even real? Look, I'm not suggesting that John's over there making stuff up, but do you think there's like a whole group of people out there just trolling him, writing him the dumbest stuff to see if he'll pick up on it? If so, they're being successful, and doubly successful, because I like to talk about it too. But what do you think? Do you think that Carnival should press your tablecloth if you bring one and put it on your table every day? Or I don't know. But interesting story. I would love to hear your feedback. Now, I did mention Nassau earlier. I did a deep dive, into Nassau. I walked the whole cruise port. So if you're curious as to what the new cruise port is like, whether or not you will be hassled, I capture it all on film. I would love for you to check that video out next. Should be popping up on the screen. This is Tony for La Lido Loca. And until the next time, hit that like button. We'll see you on the Lido. Bye.
Cruise news, cruise news, cruise news, it's over.